You recording on there? Mine is behind.
So, no, not yet. We clap a lot at Brentwood. But I would officially like to begin our gathering this morning by introducing our guest speaker, Dr. Valerie Young. She's come to us from Massachusetts, just outside of the city of Boston, to speak with us while she is here doing some other work in British Columbia. It is truly an honor to have this opportunity to have her in our house on our campus. And some people might think that it's strange that the Director of Academics has arranged this, but what I know for sure is that there are a lot of very accomplished people in the world who have experienced what she is going to speak to us about, the imposter syndrome. And we only had this open to grade 11s and 12s because we feel like you are in a position where you will get a lot out of this message because of what you are transitioning to and some of the decisions that you are making in the next couple of years and then beyond. Dr. Young is very well known in the world for the work that she does with organizations, corporations, and schools. She has written a book, The Secrets of Successful Women, and she also did a TED Talk last year in New York City. 2 years ago in New York City. So, could you please help me to welcome Dr. Young?
Can you stop sending me pictures?
Let me start with a question for all of you. How many of you have ever had that? I'm in over my head and they're going to find out feeling. Anybody here besides me? Am I the only one who feels this way? The first time I had that feeling, I was a 21-year-old doctoral student at the same university where my mother was working as a second shift custodian. And someone brought in a book by the people who had coined the term the imposter phenomenon and started describing how all these bright, capable, competent people didn't feel that way and felt like they were fooling folks. And I sat there just nodding my head like a bobblehead doll going, oh my God, that's me. And then I looked around, all the other students were nodding their head like me. So we decided to start a little imposter support group. We started meeting after class, talking about being intellectual frauds, and we're fooling all of our instructors and our professors. And everything went great for about 3 weeks. And around that time, I started to have this nagging sense that even though everyone else was saying they were an imposter, I knew I was the only real imposter. Right? I was like a super imposter. So that kind of set me on this path of trying to understand why do so many people who are clearly intelligent, capable, competent, accomplished have these feelings. Some of you don't have these feelings. Some of you will never have these feelings. But it's good for you to understand them because, number one, they might strike later in life. And if you're going to be managing or leading people at some time in your professional life, you want to understand them. Or if you're going to be parenting people in the future yourself. By the way, are there any parents in the audience? That's a couple of parents as well. Just checking in. All right, let me define what imposter syndrome is, right? It's not a fancy term for low self-esteem. Think of self-esteem as kind of a global sense we have about ourselves, but imposter feelings only come up in achievement situations, school and work, right, career. You don't feel like an imposter when you're walking the dog, right, or folding your laundry, but you do maybe when a professor asks you a question and you don't know the answer, or you're going on an interview, or you're trying out for some award of some kind, you're perhaps applying to college at some point in the very near future, if you're not already. So what does it mean? Well, it was coined by the these two psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, and basically imposter syndrome is this kind of secret belief deep down that you're really not as intelligent, capable, competent as people think you are. And the interesting thing about it is this is despite concrete evidence of achievements and abilities. Good grades, getting into a good school like this, awards, faculty recommendations, praise, honors, etc. So what's going on, right? If you can see your grades, you can see the degree on the wall, what's happening? Well, people who feel like imposters have become very adept at basically saying, well, sure, I did it. Sure, I was successful, but I can explain all that, right? So we chalk our success to things like luck or timing, right? Well, I lucked out that time, but the next time I'm going to bomb that big exam, right? Right time, right place. Or the sense that if I can do it, anybody can, right? I actually heard a guy say, if I can get a PhD in astrophysics from Caltech, anybody can. Right? So the supposed simplicity of the task. Or we say, somebody helped me get into school, get the job with my homework, I had a good mentor, I had tutoring. Or we say, oh, it's just because they like me. You know, I'm funny, I'm personable, so the teachers let me slide a little bit more, maybe. And what is your biggest fear going to be? If you think you're fooling all these people, what's the biggest fear going to be? I found out, right? Exposed, unmasked. Mike Myers says he's still waiting for the no-talent police to come and arrest him. So what's going on, right? Why do so many award-winning, Oscar-winning, senior executives, PhDs, professors, scientists all over the world have these feelings? Well, there's really a number of perfectly good reasons why someone might feel like a fraud. I'm going to go through some of these. Now, you're not going to identify with all of these reasons, but I want to see a show of hands for this first one. How many of you were raised by humans? Can I see a show of hands? So, okay, let the record show. The majority of the students here at Brentwood were raised by humans. Some of you are like, I don't know, not so sure. Obviously, I like to have fun with this. But your human parents were raised by other human parents. And they were raised by humans down the line. And sometimes even very well-intentioned humans might pass along some messages that would lead people to have these imposter feelings. Let me ask you a question. How many of you go home and you have 4 A's and 1 B, and your family's only response is, what happened, right? What's that B doing now? How many of you, right? So clearly, your parents want you to do the very best they can. They want to motivate you and inspire you to excel. But for kids, praise is like oxygen. So what's the message there? Unconsciously, the message is the only thing that's acceptable is perfection. Perfection, right? So you might feel that pressure to always get those A's. Which, you know, sometimes that pressure can be a good thing, and sometimes it can lead to imposter feelings later. Some of you might have the complete opposite experience. You come home with very good grades, and your family says nothing. Anybody have the non-response, right? They don't even really acknowledge it. And there's lots of reasons why a parent might not praise a child for academic achievement. Maybe they just think, well, you always knock it out of the park. You always excel. It's hardly worth mentioning. So just expect it. Or maybe there's other siblings struggling academically in the family, and they need to help them out. They don't want to make it look like you're more special, or we love you more. Maybe they're in crisis. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't get praise growing up, so they don't know how to give it. Maybe it's cultural. So there's many reasons why a parent might not praise a child for academic achievement. But again, for children, and for young people, praise is like oxygen. And then some of you got a little too much oxygen, right? Where you're told everything you do is extraordinary, and it gets hard to kind of sort out at some point, you know, kind of good from great. So here's the thing. I like to go through those examples because clearly we weren't all raised by the same family, and we didn't all get the same messages. It's important to acknowledge that I think we get stuck here, and we just heap all this responsibility on the parents. situational factors, like being a student, period, all by itself, makes you far more likely to have imposter feelings than the general population. How many of you are thinking, and you may not know now, but you're thinking you might get an advanced degree someday. You're already projecting ahead with medicine or maybe a PhD or a master's. I guarantee the higher up you go in the academic world, the more likely you are to have these imposter feelings. Someone said to me recently, this is crazy, I have a PhD, I shouldn't feel like an imposter. I said, no, you feel like an imposter because you have a PhD. Right now you have this pressure to kind of prove that you're smart. So just being a student, so for many of you, when you're out of the student environment, many of these feelings might fade. More and more people are working remotely. I do a lot of webinars for tech companies where they have employees that are all over the world. So if you're working remotely, you're more isolated, you're not getting feedback, more susceptible to imposter feelings. There are other kind of situational factors, certain fields where people are more likely to have imposter feelings. Creative fields, whether it is acting or producing. Anybody watch The Big Bang Theory? Chuck Lorre, the producer of Big Bang Theory and many other shows, has talked about his own imposter feelings when he walks onto a set. Maya Angelou, the great writer, said, I've written 11 books, and every time I write another one, I think, uh-oh, I pulled another one over on everyone, and they're going to find out. But also, people in medicine, I speak for a lot of medical universities and a lot of hospitals and a lot of physicians groups. You're dealing with life and death, and you're in an area where the advancements are happening so rapidly you could never keep up. So a lot more people feel like imposters in that field. And do we thinking of going into medicine? Technology. Again, I've spoken at Facebook, I've spoken at Apple, I've spoken at IBM, I've spoken at Intel. A lot of people feel like imposters in the tech world for many of the same reasons. You can't possibly humanly keep up with the rate of change happening in technology. So it makes sense that there might be some situational reasons. Sometimes the culture of an organization might foster imposter syndrome. You know, the only study I'm aware of where a higher percentage of men than women identified with imposter syndrome was a study conducted with college professors, which I think goes directly to some of the aspects of academic culture. Universities, I've spoken at 90 colleges and universities in the US, Canada, Japan, I'm going to be at Oxford University shortly. Imposter feelings are rampant at university campuses, and part of it goes to some elements of academic culture. I'm not going to go into all those today, but you might get amused by this. I was speaking at UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. There wasn't just one parking spot for the Nobel laureates. There's a whole row of parking spots for the Nobel laureates. How would you like to be a professor there and have to drive by that every day? Loser! I mean, that's a pretty high bar to have to meet, right? It's a pretty high standard. You're surrounded with all these highly educated people. And I'm going to talk about one more thing, and then I want to kind of get to this kind of core source of imposter feeling. But this is important to mention. A sense of belonging fosters confidence. A sense of belonging fosters confidence. So when you walk into a classroom, or later in your life, when you walk at a university campus, or you walk into a workplace, the more people who look or perhaps sound like you, the more confident you feel. Does that make sense? It's kind of instinctively, right? Conversely, the fewer people who look or sound like you, for many people, it does impact how confident you feel. For example, we know that international students, they show up in droves to my talks at university campuses, often are more susceptible to imposter. How many of you are international students? You're not from, right? So for some of you, if you're here, you've got the same pressures everyone else has, but you're doing it in another culture, perhaps in a second language as well. How many of you are the first generation in your family to planning on going off to college, which I know most of you are, right? So kind of first gen students, as they're known on university campuses, also more susceptible. In the US, where I'm from, Sonia Sotomayor, who is now on the United States Supreme Court, grew up in a very impoverished community in the Bronx. When she went to Princeton University, when she stepped onto campus, she said she felt like she was visiting an alien land. She said she kept waiting for someone to tap her on the shoulder and say, you don't belong here. Or if you're the first to do something, or the few. So the first woman head of a manufacturing unit, or a black scientist, or one of the very few women in tech, for example, more susceptible. Or the only. I was speaking at York University, and this was on the front page of the Globe and Mail. Meet University of Toronto's only black first-year medical student. That's a lot of pressure, right? That's a lot of pressure. A young woman who was blind took a workshop with me, getting out of college, getting her first job. She said she was so afraid that when she got her job, if she wasn't like super disabled person, the next time they went to hire someone with a disability, they might think, well, we tried one of those people, right? And it didn't work out. So when you add in that kind of pressure to represent, and you combine it with being a part of any group for whom there are stereotypes about competence, there's more of a likelihood of having imposter feelings. And we all know what that feels like to some level or another. Now, being young, have you ever been in a situation where you were the youngest person and you felt like your intellect and your knowledge and your skills were being kind of questioned? Because what do they know? They're young. Anybody had that feeling? I used to know what that felt like a long time ago. Now, how many of you in this room are on the other end of it? Now, when I ask that question at Facebook, the 30-year-olds raise their hand, right? They feel like the old one now, where they're being patient for some, again, situational and social reasons that might lead us to imposter feelings.